Today we're making blueberry wine. So difficulty for this, I think we're going to place it around intermediate because the process is reasonably simple, but it's drawn out over a long time. You're going to need 1.5 kilos of sugar. I picked these up. These are muscat raisins, which I'm already messing with the recipe, but I thought they'd be fun to put in just to add some sweetness. I've got citric and tartaric acid. Are just helpful because blueberries are not very acidic. I've got tannin, I've got campden tablets, which are really important to sanitize your wine. This is a pectin enzyme to help break down the fruit skin. This is a wine stabilizer, and this is yeast. I've chosen to get like a dry white / sparkling yeast, but you could probably use a red one or just something at your own discretion. And then I've got yeast nutrient.
And then 2.5 kilos of blueberries.
2.5 kilos of blueberries. Cost-wise, this set me back about $30, which is all. Everything here is probably reasonably easy to find. This you're probably going to need to go to a brew shop to get. The blueberries were generously provided to us by Bob's Farm Berries, and you can check them out at bobsfarmberries.com. There's like a thing, I'm guessing. These are seconds, which would typically be used for things like jam and wine. So they're probably still good as fruit, but they're probably better for mashing up and turning into wine.
Higher likelihood of a bitter berry, like the ones like that.
The red ones, yeah. So maybe $30, $40. So all up, the cost of materials is probably about $60 to $70, depending on how lucky you get. On the equipment side of things, we've got a hydrometer, which measures the gravity in your liquid to see how much alcohol level you're at, which it's not just useful for that, it's useful to see like what your fermentation's up to, so you know when the fermentation's complete. So you could guess this based on the instruction we give you, but you're probably better off to buy one. I've got this for about $20. And then we've got this fermentation bucket, which would probably set you back about $30 to $50, depending on where you get it. So the first thing we're going to do is we put some water on to get ready to kind of bring to a simmer, because we're going to melt our sugar into that. And while that's going, we're going to mash up our blueberries, and we put it in like a lasagna dish, just so we've got a flat surface, and we're just going to mash them all up and then introduce them into the bucket. The other thing I've done is I've measured out the other of our dry ingredients that are going to go in the mix, and that contains some of this pectic enzyme, about half a teaspoon, one of these campden tablets crushed up, some of this tannin. I think I put about 1/4 teaspoon in there, and then I put about half a teaspoon of citric acid and half a teaspoon of tartaric acid in there. I'll put all the ingredients and measurements down below in the description. So we're just putting the last of the berries in, then we're going to put in the water, and then we're going to put in our dry ingredients.
So once you've got everything in the mix, the measurement should be about 7.5 litres worth. If you don't have 7.5 litres, just chuck a bit of extra water in there.
Somewhere reasonably warm and dry, and we'll leave it until tomorrow. We're back after just over 24 hours, and what we've done is we've boiled some water and put it in a cup ready for the yeast. But we wanted to kind of cool down to maybe about like 40-50 degrees. So we're letting that cool down, and while we're doing that, we're just going to sanitize all our instruments that we're going to use because we don't want to introduce anything nasty into the mix. So once that's cooled down, we're going to introduce the yeast and then leave that for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to proof it. We're just going to cover it in cling wrap so that it kind of maintains temperature, and give it about 15 minutes to activate. So our yeast has been activating for about 15 minutes. It's looking good. It's got a bit of a bubble going on, and we've dissolved about a teaspoon of sugar into some boiling water. We're just going to add it in to proof it, and then we want to leave it for about 30 minutes. Our yeast is proofed, and it should be all foamy and gross and ready and fun.
and so we're getting ready to add it to our big mix wine. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to use the paddle and stir the mix kind of vigorously and try and get some oxygen through it. And then we're going to add the yeast in. And then what we want to do, we're not going to stir after we put the yeast in, we're just going to leave it for about 2 hours and then we'll stir it through. So we've got a bit of oxygen kind of going through there, and we're just going to add the yeast, put the lid on and leave it. Stir with the yeast in there. About 2 hours. Cool. We've got the yeast in, that's going to start the fermentation, and it's just going to start eating all those sugars and producing alcohol as a result. So what I'm going to do is in 2 hours I'll stir it up a bit more. I'm going to put the airlock on now just to show you how to do that. And then we're going to leave it for about 6 to 8 days to finish its primary fermentation, and we'll pick that up in another video, and then we'll straighten it out and do the rest of it. Alright, we are back after 8 days, it's Monday. 8 days, and it seems like the primary fermentation is complete, and we're getting ready to just rack it into another container, and then we're going to rack it back into the primary fermenter and get rid of all of the gunk. Okay, so we've put all of our wine into this little bucket and we've let it settle a little bit. And then we washed out and sanitized the fermenter bucket. And all I want to do is just put it back in here because fermentation is going to continue to some degree, and I want to put it in the one with an airlock, just so I can let out all the carbon dioxide. So I'm going to push it back into here, and I've just got the colander or the sieve and the cheesecloth set up again just to catch any of the silty bits that might have gotten through. Okay, so eventually you'll have all your wine back in the fermenter. If someone else has like a better siphoning system than we were using, then let us know in the comments, because that was terrible and it took a long time. But I'm about to lock this away, and we'll probably let it sit for about 2 to 4 weeks, and I'll maybe test it on maybe a weekly basis to see where the gravity's at, and then after that we'll pick it up from there. Alright, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next episode where we finally rack and try this thing.